Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight.
Thousands flocked to the Malia Resort for nomination day of the Progressive Liberal Party's Day 2 of their convention.
The daughter of the nation's first Prime Minister offering a scathing review of the Progressive Liberal Party. That story straight ahead.
A 25-year-old man is charged with the murder of an 8-year-old boy who was shot while doing his homework.
Is brought to you by Alive, the nation's newest and best LTE network.
Good to be alive.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. I'm Kyle Joaquin. Topping news tonight, the nominations are in and it's one day to the big vote in the Progressive Liberal Party as they seek to find Perry Christie's successor. Day 2 of the party's convention was filled with some surprising and not so surprising nods, with new and familiar faces offering themselves for various posts in the party. Georgia Bain tells us more.
Progressive Liberal Party delegates will choose between Progressive Liberal Party interim leader Philip Brave Davis and Angliston MP Glenys Hannah Martin to lead the party. Hundreds of party supporters filled the lobby of the convention center, dressed in their party colors and shirts displaying who they are supporting. Both Philip Brave Davis and Glenys Hannah Martin were nominated for the leadership post today, and while votes will not be cast until tomorrow, both hopefuls say they are humbled by the opportunity and are excited to lead the party to victory in 2022.
Well, I'm elated by it, and I'm overwhelmed by the support that the delegates appear to be giving me. And at the end of the day, I'm confident that I should be successful.
Davis also responded to last night's speech by Monique Pinling. According to Davis, he was not blindsided by her comments, but he will take them into consideration.
It's a view from someone who has a perspective of a party that she's belonged to, that she's been a part of through her father all these years. And I think I take the criticism very constructive. I don't think that, I think what she pointed to, those factors did exist in some form or fashion in the organization. I don't want to say where and how, but again, we have to listen to what people say about us. We have to accept these criticisms and address them going forward.
Despite expressing that she feels deprived of the opportunity to address party delegates, Angliston MP Glenys Hannah Martin says she will continue to lobby and share her plans on how she will move the party forward.
We will continue to lobby. We're going to continue to work the ground. We want this party to go in a new direction, in a new day. We want to shake up the ground and take this in a different direction. And we will not sit down and abide by the status quo. That's why we're here today. And that's why we're here. Yeah. We're not here. That's why we're here. That's why we're here.
Yes.
How confident are you going into that new process?
I am confident that I'm going in accordance with my conscience, in my regard for this organization, with full speed ahead.
Exuma and Ragged Island MP Chester Cooper was nominated for deputy leader. He will face Ricardo Smith as his opponent. Cooper says he is grateful to the party's delegates for awarding him the opportunity, and he is ready to embrace his new role.
Today, I was nominated as deputy leader for the Progressive Liberal Party, and this is an exciting feeling. It's humbling for a boy from Forbes Hill, Little Exuma, to now have the opportunity to be deputy leader and deputy prime minister in waiting. This is truly an awesome feeling, and I am grateful to the delegates and the stalwarts for nominating me today.
Senator Fred Mitchell, former Tourism Minister Obi Wilchcombe, and attorney Glendon Roll have been nominated for party chairman. Former party chairman Bradley Roberts says while he is pleased with today's smooth process, he can't take some of the nominations seriously.
Carter Smith is running for deputy leader of the party, but I don't consider that to be a serious bid. And there's another person who has been nominated for leadership, Mr. Troy Garvey. I also place that in the same category as well, too.
Our News also spoke with former Minister of State for Legal Affairs, Damien Gomez, who says he hopes that the party's constitution can be revisited to allow the voting process to include a more diverse grouping.
I believe that we ought to have a system in which every member is entitled to vote, and not merely one group of people. But we have to make some changes to our Constitution to have that achieved.
Reporting for our News, I'm Giorgio Bain.
Well, the youngest daughter of the nation's first prime minister offering a scathing review of the PLP's last term in office. Monique Pinling was the keynote speaker at last night's session at the party's 53rd convention and delivered a cutting analysis of the party her father led for 41 years. Jared Higgs has that.
Keynote speaker at the opening night of the PLP convention, Monique Pinling, minced no words as she delivered by far the most critical analysis of the night of the PLP's May 10th election loss. Pinling lamented the party's most recent leaders for chronic tardiness and other demeaning behavior.
Many of us forgot how to treat people. We made promises we didn't keep. Appointments were made, and either they didn't show up or they kept us waiting for hours. And yet, wonder why or how our party suffered its most crushing and humiliating defeat in this past general election.
Pinling's remarks weren't met with the same enthusiasm that was granted to the mention of positive highlights of the former government. Nonetheless, there were mixed responses from the crowd, with some in attendance seemingly agreeing with her message. Pinling was crystal clear in her assertion that the behavior of some members of the party was unacceptable.
In my opinion, that many in the party became overcome with envy, consumed with jealousy, and some of us were stung with greed. We became too concerned with who made ministers, but ignored the tastes and values of those who would make good representatives. We became arrogant, petty, and thin-skinned. Some in our party even became anti-Pinling, but quick to quote or call his name when it was politically expedient to do so.
Pinling says the political aspirations of a few men outweighed the aspirations of the entire country. Those actions, she said, led to the isolation of the party from key demographic groups.
Our party has become weak. We failed to reach the youth. We became dishonest, and we lost touch with too many people. We made statements that were out of touch, demeaning, and embarrassing. We allowed the political ambitions of a few men to dash the political aspirations of a whole people.
Pinling, an entrepreneur, reminded the party that as time goes on, voters will continue to change. She says it's up to the party to reconcile that fact with their approach to leadership.
A new generation has emerged on the scene with a fresh breath of vision, with new hopes and new aspirations. We need to genuinely embrace them, teach them, and guide them instead of merely paying them lip service so that it sounds good. More importantly, we have to acknowledge them and listen to them instead of ignoring them. Have meaningful dialogue, then come to a wise decision together.
Pinling said she hopes the election defeat was a learning experience for the party and admonished supporters not to lose hope. Ending the speech on a more encouraging note, she emboldened supporters to be confident that the PLP could return to lead the country, urging the party to proceed with fresh leadership. Reporting for our news, I'm Jared Higgs.
It's the showdown of the leadership hopefuls. PLP interim leader Philip Davis says he doesn't think him speaking at the party's prayer breakfast to begin its convention on Sunday gave him any advantage over his opponent for the party's leadership race, Gladys Hannah Martin. Yesterday, Hannah Martin raised issue with the fact that she hasn't been given the opportunity to address delegates. Davis today said he doesn't see what type of edge he was given over the Angleston MP.
It's unfortunate that she thought that the matter is unfair, but I don't think it is because I'm not speaking either.
Despite his claims, Hannah Martin suggests Davis is being disingenuous.
Unfortunately, Mr. Davis being a little disingenuous again because he spoke already. The beginning of this convention was the prayer breakfast, and he had full stage to make his case. I sat in the audience and listened. And so he's being disingenuous. He's actually, as the interim leader, presiding over everything, the whole procedure, etc. And I'm assuming he has knowledge of the fact that this decision has been made. So I understand what he's saying about his two speeches, but he already had one a couple days ago.
Davis said he spoke with Hannah Martin to explain that nothing is unfair about the process and that both of them will have to wait until Wednesday to speak. However, she's not of the same view.
She raised the matter with me. I indicated I was not speaking, and I indicated that we should await the Wednesday night. I think all of us will be slated to speak tomorrow night. It's not that she's not going to speak. I think it's a question of timing. And the convention committee indicated to me that we are slotted to speak on the last night, and I will have two speeches prepared. one to congratulate her if she succeeds, and one to chart the way forward if I succeed.
The last time we had a leadership race was 20 years ago, and the delegates heard from the candidates. It doesn't have to be in the convention open session, but it's a natural, normal thing for people who are voting to hear from the people that they're supposed to vote for. Why there is stenching on this issue is beyond me. I'm actually flabbergasted.
In other news, weeks after the tragic killing of 8-year-old Eugene Woodside, a man has been charged in the magistrate's court. Jasmine Brown was in court and tells us more.
25-year-old Lloyd Minnis was carted into a packed magistrate court just before 1 p.m. Family members of the 8-year-old boy stood outside the court this morning but did not come inside for the arraignment. Minnis, a Coral Harbor resident, was charged with killing Woodside Jr. and Dennis Moss. Moss and Woodside were shot on September 25th at Rosebud Street. Police said Woodside Jr. was at home doing his homework when a bullet came through the wooden house and struck him. Moss was shot in front of a residence a short distance away from Woodside's home. Police allege he was being chased by a gunman. Both victims died in hospital. Minnis, who was silent during his arraignment, was not required to plead to the charges and was represented by attorney Ian Cargill. Chief Magistrate Joyanne Ferguson Pratt remanded Minnis to the Bahamas Department of Corrections, and the matter was adjourned to December 7th. Now, when Minnis returns to court in December, he will be served with a voluntary bill of indictment. Reporting for our news, I'm Jasmine Brown.
2 residents of Golden Isles were arraigned today on firearm and ammunition charges. 39-year-old Damien Nixon, seen in the yellow shirt, and 27-year-old Jevon Davis, seen in the striped shirt, were arrested on October 22nd when police allegedly seized a .45 pistol, a Walker .38 pistol, 4 live rounds of .38 ammunition, and 9 live rounds of 9mm ammunition from a home in Golden Isles. The pair was arraigned on 2 counts of possession of an unlicensed firearm, 1 count of possession of ammunition, and 1 count of possession of ammunition with intent to supply. The men both pleaded not guilty to the charges before Chief Magistrate Joyanne Ferguson Pratt and were remanded to the Bahamas Department of Corrections. The case was transferred to Acting Assistant Chief Magistrate Supersola Swain. The men are slated to return to court on November 2nd for a trial date to be fixed. Still to come on our news, the central bank and the Bahamas government looking to deal with the high banking fees. Stay with us.